What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Alex, the best sports capper on YouTube and the best prediction bet winner on YouTube, as you're looking at one of the bets that I won right on your screen right now. And on top of that, for those of you who've already been subscribed to the channel, you already know that not only did I predict correctly that the Knicks would win the finals, I also predicted correctly that the Knicks would win the finals in 5. Not 6, not 7, but 5. All right? I know what I'm talking about. All right, if you go back on my channel and you look at all my predictions throughout the NBA playoffs, you can go back to the NFL too. Like when I told everybody that the Cleveland Browns was going to upset the Pittsburgh Steelers and nobody seen that coming. By the way, you can go back through the entire NBA playoffs and you'll see that I was right 85% of the times. I called a lot of upsets, okay? And most of the time when I was wrong, it's only because someone got injured. For example, I called the Timberwolves upsetting the Nuggets. That was an easy call, all right? Now, I also would have been right about the fact that the Detroit Pistons was the highest seed that was going to have the most trouble in the first round and might lose, as they would have lost if Fred Wagner did not get hurt, all right? So I know what I'm talking about. And with that being said, I'm going to tell you guys something right now and get your bets in early. Wemby is not, Wembanyama, as my man Mikal Bridges would say, Wembanyama is not going back to the finals next season. Now, everybody wants to talk about how magical of a run the Knicks had. And even as a Knicks fan, I can say they had a very magical run. But I told you guys before, all right, I've seen plenty of teams win championships, right? I'm also a Yankees fan. I've seen them win plenty of championships, okay? I'm also a Packers fan. It's the only non-New York team that I don't like. I have seen them win multiple championships. So I'm aware of the fact that for anyone to win a championship, it requires a little bit of luck and it requires things to go your way. So I'm not saying that those things didn't happen for the Knicks. They absolutely did. But what you guys are missing is that those things happened for the Spurs too, and they still lost. Let's look at the two teams that made the finals last year. First of all, neither one of them made it back to the finals. The Thunder didn't make it back to the finals. They lost in the Western Conference Finals to the Spurs, and the Pacers didn't even make the playoffs. They actually had the worst record in the league. Now, to be fair, they didn't have Halliburton, but one player should not take you from being in the finals to being the worst team in the league. That's like absurd. So I say all that to say a lot of things change every single year. Injuries play a part. Rosters get turned around. And I sincerely don't think that a lot of you guys thought about how much went Wembanyama in the Spurs' way. For example, the Spurs don't beat the Thunder if they have Jalen Williams and they have AJ Mitchell. They do not beat the Thunder if the Thunder were completely healthy. That was a break that that the San Antonio Spurs caught. They caught that break of the Thunder being injured. I do not anticipate the Thunder will be injured again next year. I expect them to be more healthy. And with that being said, I also expect them to be a team that could beat the Spurs. Outside of the Thunder, I expect the Timberwolves to not only be more healthy, because we know Anthony Edwards was playing on one good leg and Dante DiVincenzo was not there, but I also expect the Timberwolves to have realized that Julius Randle is just not going to be a key cog on a championship team. They'll probably move him in an effort to get Anthony Edwards some more help. All right, so them being healthy and getting rid of Julius Randle is going to make them a lot more competitive. The Rockets will be healthy next year. The Rockets are also a young team. They'll be healthy next year. They got KD and stuff there, all right? Luka Doncic will be back with the Lakers. Now, I do think the Spurs could still beat the Lakers, but we don't know what type of moves the Lakers are going to make. We know Giannis is going somewhere. We don't know where Giannis is going. You know what I mean? So wherever Giannis goes, that's going to shift power in the East. Wherever he goes, all right? We've got to see what's going to happen with the Celtics, all right? The Knicks are going to be back relatively intact. You're going to still have to go through them, and that's been a bad matchup for the Spurs the entire year. It's going to continue to be a bad matchup for the Spurs next year. You have the Pistons. The Orlando Magic will be healthy, all right? So I'm saying all that to say this whole idea that Wembanyama and the Spurs are just going to roll back to the finals because they were that dominant is just as delusional as all you guys who are running around, oh, the East is weak. The real finals with the Western Conference finals because the East is weak. Well, not only does the East have more championships than the Western Conference as a whole, right? But the East was never weak. As a matter of fact, if it wasn't for Tyrese Halliburton getting injured, the Pacers beat the Thunder last year, and the East will have won the last 3 championships going Celtics, Pacers, and Knicks. But unfortunately, Halliburton did get hurt, so that's not what happened. But this whole idea of the East being weak is always hilarious to me because outside of Thunder, who's strong in the West? The Spurs are not that good. They're just not. They're not that good. And then when you get beyond them, LeBron's leaving the Lakers. We don't know who they're going to team up with Luka now. So we don't really know how strong the Lakers are going to be. The Rockets are a good team, but am I going to put the Rockets above like the Cavs or the Pistons or something? Personally, I'm not going to do that. And if Joel Embiid can play more than 5 games, I'm not even sure I would put the Rockets over, like the Sixers. The Portland Trailblazers stink. All right, so I could go on for days about the West. The Nuggets fell off after they won their ship. Jokic doesn't care anymore. He got his 1 ring. He's not going to try to get another one. So where's all this depth in the West that you guys are even looking at? With that being said, as I stated earlier, I really don't foresee the Spurs as that good of a team. They have a lot of young talent, but I just don't see them as that good of a team. They don't have enough veteran depth. That's problem. Well, they don't really have enough depth in general, but they definitely don't have enough veteran depth. And everybody's like, oh, yeah, start Harper, start Dylan Harper. And I get it. Dylan Harper is, at this point, better than De'Aaron Fox, even though people keep forgetting De'Aaron Fox turned his ankle in the playoffs, and we don't know how much that played into how bad he looked. But I digress. They're going to have to move De'Aaron Fox because you can't pay De'Aaron Fox all that money just to come off the bench. All right, so once Dylan Harper starts and De'Aaron Fox is gone, your depth essentially is completely gone because you don't really have good depth now. You don't really have good bench play at this moment, and you're about to lose De'Aaron Fox and start Dylan Harper. So you're going to have even worse bench play, all right? We're also forgetting the fact that Wembanyama has only really gotten through 1 season healthy. And that was pretty much this one. And he was also on a minutes restriction for half of this year to accomplish that goal. Now, I'm pretty sure most Spurs fans would say, well, if we just put Wembanyama on a minutes restriction, and that's going to get him through the whole season in the playoffs, we're cool with doing that. But the problem is the man's not even 24 yet, and he's already on a minutes restriction. So that doesn't go well for saying that he's going to remain healthy throughout his NBA career. All right, it just doesn't. And let me remind you guys, for as much as people like to say we've never seen anyone like Wembanyama, that is not necessarily true. Kristaps Porzingis was just like Wembanyama. Kristaps Porzingis, if I remember correctly, was 7'4" himself. If Porzingis wasn't 7'4", he was at least 7'2". I'm not necessarily in the. You know what? Let me look it up really quick. It won't take me that long. Let me just see how tall Kristaps Porzingis is. All right, let me see here. Kristaps Porzingis, 7'2". That's what I said. Sorry, he wasn't 7'4". He was 7'2". He could shoot a 3. He could dribble. He had an inside-out game, post game. His offensive game was actually more developed than Wemby's. Now, his defensive game was never as good as Wemby's, but his offensive game was way more developed than Wemby's. Kristaps Porzingis had the same problem. I know he used to be a Knick. Constantly hurt, even at a young age. Now, he's a game changer when he's healthy. The Celtics never win that ring 2 years ago if not for Porzingis and Drew Holiday. That's why they can't get back. So I'm not saying that. But I'm saying generally when athletes get too far above the height of 7 foot, they cannot stay healthy. All right, Yao Ming. Yao Ming was like 7'4", 7'5". Now, he couldn't handle the ball and shoot like Wemby and Porzingis could. But guess what Yao Ming was? Always hurt. All right, Chet Holmgren. I will say Chet's done a pretty good job outside of his first year staying injury-free in the NBA. But he had that first year where he was what? Hurt. All right, so history has shown us, despite the fact that we say we've never seen Wembanyama's again, we've never seen Wembanyama's before, that guys who are that big have a very, 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 very hard time staying healthy. They just do. They have a hard time staying healthy. So we're assuming Wembanyama is going to stay healthy for the entire year next year. I just don't understand personally what we're making that assumption for because I'm not so sure that that's true. All right. So 1, Wembanyama has to stay healthy. 2, they're going to have to do something about their depth. I actually think they're going to lose depth because they're going to have to get rid of De'Aaron Fox. All right. So maybe they can get some more depth pieces for De'Aaron Fox. I don't know. But the Spurs' depth is going to be a problem. Wembanyama's health is going to be a problem, all right? The West is going to be healthier next year, and that's going to cause another problem, all right? Another thing, last but certainly not least, the Spurs don't have strong coaching. Now, they don't have the worst coaching in the world, but they don't have the best. They don't even have close to the best. And that was evident throughout the playoff run, especially in the finals. You have teams like Oklahoma City that has a better coach. The Knicks with Mike Brown have a better coach, all right? You have Rick Carlisle over there with the Pacers. He's a better coach, right? So there's all these other coaches in the league who are better. Eric Spoelstra is a better coach. And if he gets Giannis, watch out. There's all these better coaches in the NBA, all right? Missoula, I'm not a huge fan of him, but he's a better coach than Mitchell. So you have a weak coach, an injury-prone sitter, no real depth on your team. All right, you're going to have to hope everyone – most of the teams next year are probably going to be more healthy than they were this year. So you're going to have to deal with them at full strength. Right? It's just a lot of things working against the Spurs, man. It's just a lot of things working. It's very hard to repeat, guys. Repeating is not an easy thing, especially with the NBA recently. We haven't had a repeat champion in like 10 years? So just making this assumption, oh yeah, Wembanyama, he's going to be back. Wembanyama is going to take over the league. You don't know that. You don't know that. And evidence would suggest that that's probably not going to happen. Now, will the Spurs win a ring at some point? Maybe, possibly, but again, all right, when the Packers won in 2010, 2011, I thought they were going to be a dynasty. All right, these guys had won like 19 straight games, right? Because after they won the Super Bowl in 2010, they went 15-1 in 2011. So these guys had won like 19 straight games. Aaron Rodgers was like 26. We had a loaded wide receiver room. Literally every single wide receiver on the Packers at that time from 1 to 4 was all pro level. We also had an all pro level tight end, an all pro level offensive line, a Hall of Famer in Charles Woodson on defense. Unfortunately, Nick Collins broke his neck during the Super Bowl run, so we lost that guy who would have been a Hall of Famer, but we still had so many players like Clay Matthews. You couldn't have told me that Packers team was never going to win another championship. Aaron Rodgers, to this day, despite being one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, never won another championship. He never even got back to the Super Bowl. Now, I understand it's harder to make a Super Bowl than it is an NBA Finals because in the NFL, the playoffs are one and done. But how many people did we see in the NBA get to the finals and never get back? James Harden got to the finals before he was 24. He never got back. Russell Westbrook got to the finals before he was 24. He never got back. So this assumption that you guys make that a team, because the team's young, they'll be right back, that's not true. You don't even know if they're going to be able to keep these guys together. At some point, they're going to have to pay Stephon Castle, and they're going to have to pay Dylan Harper, and they're going to have to play Wembanyama. And what are they going to do with Death if they pay those three? Y'all not even thinking about that. Everybody not Jalen Brunson. Everybody not about to take no pay cut, man. That's not everybody's stilo. That's not how everybody rock. That's not what everybody do. So if you're one of those, players, you like, nah, I'm cashing out. I'm not about to take no discount. I'm cashing out. Cash me out, baby. If you're one of those players, then there's no guarantee if you're one of those players that all those guys are going to come back. They might want their own team. Remember, Luka and Jalen Brunson was on the same team. Jalen left because he wanted his own team. Besides the fact that he wanted to play for his dad, too, he also wanted to run his own team. He thought he could. So who's to say Dylan Harper and Stephon Castle don't get tired of being in Wembanyama's shadow and say, we want to get our own team. We think we could do our own thing. You just don't know what's going to happen. So this just blind assumption and arrogance you guys have about the fact that Wembanyama is just going to all of a sudden get back to the championship is absolutely insane to me. I think there's a lot of things working against them, and I just don't think they're coming back. I think they came 2 years too early, and hopefully if everyone can stay together and stay healthy, maybe the year after next they can get back. But I don't see it happening next year. All right, you guys can let me know your thoughts in the comments. I am Alex, and I am out, y'all. Peace.